How is everyone doing tonight? Episode 12 of Married at First Sight. At the end of this episode, we have a roughly 3 weeks left until decision day, and we're 5 weeks in. The first Dr. Pepper sighting. That is wild to me. Like, that really goes to show that the experts do not care whether our couples make it or not. They are just here to cash the paychecks, because if they did, we'd be having at least weekly check-ins with our couples plus crisis intervention. And like, that should be like the bare minimum for what the experts are contributing to these shows, because we're taking 10 people who haven't been able to find love. Let's even just look at like Eris, everybody's favorite whipping boy for this season. He's 39, never been in love, not much history with serious relationships, and honestly, he probably needs some assistance in this process. Like, I don't think anybody who's watched this season would argue with that he needs some assistance. Even looking at Chris and Nicole, they would have benefited from just having a weekly check-in with an expert. While yes, they look like they're on track to say yes on decision day, having those sessions, those moments with the experts would have helped advance that relationship even further. But instead, we just kind of send these people who have no idea what to do in relationships just into the wild with each other. Don't offer them any help. Come in, check in after 4 weeks, check in after 5 weeks, and see you on decision day. That's not good enough. We need more from the experts if we actually want to see successful couples. All right, weekly rant out of the way. That's like kind of becoming my new thing. I gotta fit in a weekly rant at the start of the video before we get into these couples. So as you know, we run through every couple one by one. We're going to start with Kirsten and Shaquille. It's weird how Kirsten was able to open up in front of Dr. Pepper without getting interrupted. And maybe the reason why she was having so much trouble opening up is because Shaquille just wouldn't shut his damn mouth before tonight. We're going to see a lot, like, there's a real divide within this couple in the fans between who's right, who's wrong, Kirsten and Shaquille. But we really, in my opinion, got to see in that interaction with Dr. Pepper what was really holding them back. When Kirsten was given the opportunity to actually open up, all of a sudden there she is opening up. When we didn't give Shaquille the floor to just constantly interrupt, things went quite well. I was also glad that Dr. Pepper called out Shaquille for being hung up on Kirsten not wanting to kiss him at the start of the relationship, and that it was time to move forward. I think that probably before the sit down with Dr. Pepper, something happened between these two. We don't have to say what, but they were definitely giving a different energy, and that continued on after the meet with Dr. Pepper. And I think that was the intimacy, and I think that there's potential that there were some fun adult activities that happened behind closed doors that we were not privy to. And good to see that these two kind of shifted in direction this week to a point where there is some optimism in this couple for probably the first time this season. It gave the vibe that they are both invested in the marriage, both invested in each other, and that could potentially continue to build up towards decision day. Only 3 weeks left, so I still don't know if that's enough time for them to get to the point where they're going to say yes on decision day, but positive steps from here on out could drastically change what happens to these two long term. Like I said at the very start, I think that they are a good match on paper, but in reality, up to this point, it just hasn't seemed like it has worked. So maybe that changes moving forward, and maybe these two have a potential for a yes on decision day. All right, next up we have Jasmine and Eris. This is just a very, very strange couple. So we have the sit down with Dr. Pepper, and we really saw Jasmine, take all the pressure, all the responsibility for the success of the marriage and just plant it firmly on her shoulders. And just saw Eris just sit there and give nothing. And then we transfer from that to after the meeting with Dr. Pepper, where they're sitting together answering the questions that Dr. Pepper wanted them to ask each other, and Jasmine is just giving nothing while Eris is the one trying to open up. Very, very weird to me. We saw the story of two different couples but from those two moments, like it almost when they were doing the jar thing, like it felt like Jasmine was intentionally holding back, because really some of those questions that were intended to be deep, really you didn't need to have a deep answer for. What's something from your childhood that really influenced who you are? Oh, well, I used to play hockey, and I think that being part of a team really helped me develop all those values and qualities that I need in a relationship. Does that answer mean anything to anybody? Nope. But it's an answer to the question, and it's not a very deep one. See, it just kind of show you that, some of those questions that you don't need some vast, deep answer to the question. Like, you still should be able to come up with something. Maybe there's a few of them that you wouldn't be able to come up with something on the spur of the moment, but for every single question for Jasmine to not have an answer, something else is going on there. That's not her just being unable to answer those questions. That's not even her just being unwilling to open up. Like, I think there's even more going on there. Like, I think that maybe Eris really not giving her anything in that Dr. Pepper session bled over into that moment, leading to her not giving anything back. Very, very bizarre. I did kind of like that Eris went and had a sit down with Jasmine's mom to kind of get a little more insight into her. Interested to see if that can lead to any progress for these two. But yeah, these two, 3 weeks till decision day, they're not even kissing each other, and yet it seems like they're going to say yes on decision day. We saw the clip from a couple weeks ago of Clint and Dominique kissing at some point, and in the background of that clip, it looked like Jasmine and Eris are together, which is bizarre to me, considering like there's nothing between these two at this point, and yet somehow they're potentially going to say yes on decision day. Eris is saying, yeah, no sex till decision day. Maybe they're going to say yes on decision day, try out the sex thing, and then move from there. I just don't really get it with these two. Moving on. Gina and Clint. I don't even know if we should talk about this couple moving forward. Like, they're not going to make it. We all know they're not going to make it. They're just so don't mesh. Like we had the whole communication and opening up thing where Clint was basically saying like, hey, I am sharing with her and then she's not reciprocating. I'm opening up and she's giving nothing back. And then Gina comes back with, well, you have to ask me specific questions. And like, that's not how things work organically. Like if you're having a conversation with somebody and they tell you, or in a relationship, we should specify, and, they're opening up to something from their past, like they want to hear something back. They don't want to, oh, well, that's nice. Yeah, that is not the response. Like when you open your heart up to somebody, you don't want to, well, that's cool. Like you want at least like some follow-up questions, maybe a share back, something. And Gina just apparently does not work that way. And then apparently wants to blame Clint for her not opening up. And I just think it's comical. Like these two, maximum friend zone, not moving out of friend zone. And yeah, they'll probably just cruise from here until decision day and then get their divorce and move on so that Clint can hook up with Dominique and Mac can slide into Gina's DMs. Lastly, we have Nicole and Chris and Nicole's dad. Nicole's dad magically had an attitude change. We're pretty sure we missed a few steps along that journey to go from Papa Big Dick Energy to Goat Yoga Dad in the span of like 1 week. Was that last week? Let me just pop down my notes here real quick. Yeah, that was last week that we had Nicole's dad talking about how Chris needed to be an alpha male and blah, 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 whatever other garbage advice that he had. All of a sudden, his attitude has changed drastically. And I'm kind of thinking that we missed a few pages in that story. We missed a few steps in that journey because you don't just go from the attitude that he had last week to all of a sudden just being like the loving father-in-law and whatever that was we were seeing at Goat Yoga. Beyond that, Nicole and Chris, they are not at the same stage as our other couples. While I feel like the Dr. Pepper stuff was probably, or at least potentially good for the other couples, I think Nicole and Chris are well beyond that. Their relationship is progressing along the path that it should be. The Dr. Pepper stuff, like we should have been checking in on that like week 2, week 3, not week 5. But hey, they still had to go and sit down. I just don't think that they get out of it what our other couples who are lagging way behind do. So yeah, they're still good. They're still going to say yes on decision day. And I think that's where we're going to wrap things up for this week. Yeah, as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I'm out.